Hello students, in this video we're going to do a quick revision. The topics are completing the square, solving equation using factorization. The questions are from assignment 2.1 and 2.2 combined. In this video, we're going to learn how to apply the techniques of completing the square. We're not going into why do we do this, why do we do that. If you're interested to know why, you can click on the link at the right hand corner. Right, so the completed form after you have done completing the square will be in this format. So your x plus p to the power of square, it's a completed square. Right, and then of course there'll be some other constants where it's going to be represented by the letter Q. So step number 1, so we're going to complete the square for these two terms, x squared plus 2x. Right, so it's just remember the steps. It's just something squared minus something squared, and then plus your constant. Okay, so what is inside the first square is just x, and you follow the operation. If the operation is a plus, then it's a plus. If it's a minus, it's a minus. The next step is you have to look for the coefficient of 2x. So in this case here, the coefficients of 2x is 2. So you just take 2. Coefficients of 2x is 2. So you just take 2, divide by 2 gives you 1. So you fill this in. And then you take away 1. So this the second, the number you're going to fill into the second bracket follow this number here. Okay, that's 1. So minus 1 squared. All right. So we're going to continue in the next step. So the next step will just be x plus 1 squared. All right. So this is a completed square already. And then the next two number, just use a calculator to evaluate. Now, when you use a calculator to evaluate, you have to be careful. You have to insert the negative sign. If you don't, then you won't get the answer. So that would be negative 1 squared plus 5. Negative 1 squared plus 5 give you positive 4. Okay, this is how you do question A. Let's look at question B. So question B, the coefficient. Oh, we're going to complete the square for x squared plus 6x only. So the coefficients of your x term, 6x, is 6. Coefficients of 6x is 6. So we're going to take 6 divided by 2 gives you 3. Okay, so that's step number 1. Then we're going to have something squared minus something squared, right? And of course, followed by your constant here. Continue writing. Okay, so what goes into the first bracket will just be x, and you follow this operation here. That is minus, so it's minus 3. Where you get 3? The 3 is where you get it here. Minus 3 squared. Okay, right. And as what we mentioned earlier on, this use a calculator to evaluate. That will be negative 9. Negative 9 minus 3, negative 12. Okay, so that's how we do it. Right, question 3 is to solve the following equations. What we have done earlier on was just to factorize it. If you look at question 3, it's to solve the equation. So how do you know this is different? This is not factorizing. Solving an equation, you see there's always an equal sign in the middle of the equation. And when you see the word solve, it means to find the values of x. Right, so it's different from factorization. Factorization is just to take out common factor, which what we have done earlier on, but we use completing the square method. So how do we solve such questions. Supposing you have x squared equals to 4, what are the possible values of x? It is when you square root 4, you will get 2, right? So possible values of x can be 2, because 2 times 2 gives you 4, right? Or it can be negative 2. So as long as the power here is a multiple of 2, it can be 2, 4, 6, 8. Multiple of 2, you will possible to get 2 answer. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the same skill here. Right, so when I square root 25, I will get 5 only. Square root 25, you get 5 only. But because the power here is an even number, as what I explained earlier on, it's possible when I substitute, okay, when I substitute inside the bracket, this one, okay, if I substitute inside the bracket, it's possible to have 5, because 5 times 5 gives you 25, or negative 5, because negative 5 times negative 5 also give me 25. That's why you can have two possible value, 5 and negative 5, because of this power here. Okay, the power is an even number, so you can have two possible answer. All right, so to find x, you just add 1 to both sides. So x equals to 6. One answer. Or negative 4, a second answer. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, so the next one is slightly different from part A, right? Because we have this negative 14 in a way. So you simply have to ask yourself this question: how do I just get rid of the negative 14 to make it similar to what you see in part A? Yeah, you just basically plus 14 on both sides. And then you square root 14, right? And because of this power that it's a multiple of 2, you can have, so when you square root 14, you get 3.742. Right, so it's possible to be 3.742 or negative 3.742, right? Then you add 5 to both sides. 3.742 plus 5. That gives you 8.742 or negative 3.742 plus 5, and that gives you 1.258. And you express your answer to three significant figures, so it's 8.74 or 1.26. All right, so this is how we do 3G. Right, let's practice doing a similar questions to the earlier one. Right, so we need to express this, factorize it in this completed square format. We're going to complete the square only for the first two terms. So let's write down the coefficients of 8x. So the coefficients of 8x will be 8. Right, so we take 8 divide by 2 gives you 4, right? So we're going to complete the square only for the first two terms. So that will be something squared minus something squared, right? And then not to forget your constant term, continue writing. So what goes inside there? Yes, x. And then follow this operation. If it's minus, it's minus. Then put in your 4. So minus who? Minus 4 squared, yes. So then you use your calculator to work this out. Make sure you put the negative there. So it's negative 16 plus 11 gives you negative 5. All right, so that's part A. So as mentioned earlier on, hence means you have to make use of the answer from part A. So the answer from part A is basically this one here. So which is x minus 4 equals to 0, right? x minus 4 squared minus 5 equals 0. So what do? We add 5 to both sides. So we will have this. Right. Then we find the square root of 5, which is 2.236, right? So x minus 4 is 2.236, or x minus 4 is negative 2.236. Then you add 4 to both sides. So 2.236 plus 4, you get approximately 6.24, or 1.76. Okay, so that's how we do it. Right, let's do another questions to practice the skill of completing the square. So for part A, we're going to complete the square for x squared plus x minus 10. All right, so the coefficient of x is 1. X means 1x. X means 1x. So the number in front of x is 1. So what do? We take 1 divided by 2. All right. So x squared plus x minus 10. That will give us something squared minus something squared, right? And then your constant term, which is negative 10. Right. So what goes inside is x followed by plus, because the operation, you follow the operation in the middle term. If it's plus, it's plus. It's minus, it's minus. Then you put in half. Then you minus half. So that gives you x plus half. And this one, use your calculator to evaluate. You get negative 10.25, or you can leave it as a fractions or whatever. It just doesn't matter, fractions or decimal. Okay, so that's part A. And of course, part B, you have to use this answer. Okay, part B, you have to use this answer to solve the equation. Right, so we add 10.25 on both sides. You will get this. Okay, and then we square root 10.25. You will get 3.202, right? So x plus half, it's 3.202. Or another possible answer, remember, because the power is a multiple of 2, negative 3.202. So you minus half on both sides. Put to 3 significant figure. So 3.202 minus 0.5, it's 2.70, or negative 3.70. Okay, so that's how we do it. All right, so the next part of this worksheet is to solve the equation. So when you see this word solve, means to find the values of x. Right. So of course, if you look at this question here, one possible values of x is 0, right? Because when you put x to be 0, you see that you have 0 plus 0 give you 0, which is what is on the right hand side. Okay, so solving equations have 3 steps. Step number 1 is to make sure that on the right hand side is 0. Step number 2 is to factorize it into 2 brackets, right? And then step number 3 is to use the zero product rule. That means the first bracket equals to 0, or the second bracket equals to 0. And of course, step number 4 is just to find the values of x. So step number 1 is already done, as in this is already equated to 0. So we need to do step number 2 is to put it into 2 brackets. So to put into two brackets, this is quite easy. If you look at it, what is the common factor there? Right, the common factor will be x. How do you know the common factor is x? You see your 2x squared, you can break it up into 2 times x, right? 9x, you can break it up into 9 bracket x. So you see that x is the common factor. So your first bracket is your x. So when you take out x from the first bracket, first term, you're left with 2x. This one is plus, you just follow. Take out your x, left only 9. Right, so that's step number 2. Step number 3 is first bracket equals to 0 or second bracket equals to 0. So x equals to 0 is one answer. Second answer will be put negative 9 on both sides. And so x is equals to negative 4.5. That's the second answer. Right, so in this question here, you have 3 terms here. Right, what we have done earlier on, there are only 2 terms, so you can just conveniently take out the common factor. With 3 terms, then you would have to apply the tic-tac-toe or the box method. In my earlier video, I have one with using box method. Okay, so you can just apply any method. But the important thing is that you must know how to arrange it properly. So if you're using this tic-tac-toe thing, the first term has to be the x squared term. Okay, first term is the x squared term. Second term is your constant. Right, then the third term is your x term. Okay, right. So what are the factors of x? How do you get x squared? How do you get x squared? Basically just x times x. X times x give you x squared. So you just arrange it in column form. X times x, okay, give you x squared. What are the factors of 24? So this is basically a bit of try and error lah. So the factors of 24 will be 1 times 24, 3 times 8, and of course you have 2 times 12 and so on and so forth. So you just try, okay, if you put here 1 and 24, yes, 1 times 24 gives you 24, but if you do a cross, x times 1 gives you x, cross this way, okay, x times 1. Then cross this way, x times 24 give you 24, x. So if you take these 2 terms add together, you see that you don't get 11x, right? So that gives you an idea to say that cannot be lah. It's not, I can't use 1 and 24. So you just try. If I cannot use 1 and 24, then I just use 3 and 8 and see lor. Okay, so now that's cross, cross this way, x times 3 is 3x. Cross like that, 8 times 3, 8x. Then these 2 terms plus together. Okay, very lucky, because 8 plus 3 is 11. So 3x plus 8x is 11x. So this will be one bracket. This is a second bracket. Okay, so this is x plus 3, one bracket, x plus 8. Right, so this is your step 2. So you do step 3. Step 3 is first bracket equals to 0 or second bracket equals to 0. And then minus 3 on both sides. Basically, this is easy already. Just solve it only. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so let's check. Yes, right hand side is 0. Step number 1 done. Step number 2 is to factorize it into 2 brackets. So how to do it? Yep. Arrange it properly. The x squared come first, followed by constant. Okay, so this is what is important. You don't just take 4. You take the sign in front of 4 also. It's a group. Let me circle for you. So the 3 terms are 2x squared, negative 7x, negative 4. So it's negative 4 and then followed by negative 7x. Okay, so your 2x squared, you can write it as 2x times x. Right, so you can have 2x on top. You can also have x on top, doesn't matter. So you can 2x and x. So basically 2x times x must give you back 2x squared. What are the factors of negative 4? Yes, it can be negative 4 times 1 or negative 2 times 2, right? So we just have to try lah. Okay, so I'm just going to make negative 4 here and 1. Okay, so we cross. That will give us x. Cross this way, negative 8x. You add these 2 terms together. Okay, so x means 1x. So 1x minus 8x will give you negative 7x. Okay, we're very lucky. Correct. So this is one bracket. 1 means plus 1. Okay, you learned that earlier on. 1 means plus 1. Then the second bracket is x minus 4. Okay, right, so first bracket equals to 0. That gives you negative half. Okay. Right, so after mastering the basic questions, so the next 3 questions are slightly harder. Right, part A, we just need to solve the equations. The step 1 is already done, right hand side is already 0, so we square root 0, give you 0. So basically there's just going to be one possible answer only when you put inside the bracket 0. So 4x minus 11 equals to 0. It does not make sense to make 4x minus 11 equals to negative 0 because negative 0 is still 0. Okay, and then we add 11 to both sides and then you divide by 4. So this is the answer. Then for part B, you have to rearrange it. Okay, you rearrange it, a squared plus 4a and then minus 21 on both sides. Right, and then you use the box method and then you get 2 brackets. So first bracket can be equals to 0 or second bracket equals to 0. Right? And then part C is slightly harder. Part C, you will have to expand this. This is the topic we learned earlier on expansion using the distributive law. You take 2n times n minus 3 and then go back to positive 1 times n minus 3. Okay, and then you expand it, you get 2n squared minus 6n plus n minus 3. Right, and then you group everything, put everything on the left hand side. Okay, and then you end up to get a quadratic equation. So you factorize it again using the box method or tic-tac-toe. And you have 2 answers, n equals to negative half or n equals to 4. Okay, so that ends this video. Okay, happy learning.